Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing all the books that I want to read this summer. It's currently Memorial Day weekend, which I've always associated as being the start to summer, even though it's not officially the start of summer. I just feel like now it's starting to get warm enough to go to the pool, go to the beach. People are traveling more, going on summer vacations and trips, and I just love finding books to read that give me all the summertime vibes. Reading in the sun, especially by a body of water, has just always been my favorite. I love spending the whole day at the pool, getting swept up in a good book. So these are the books that I have planned to read over the course of the next season. My hope for this video is that you find some books to add to your summer TBR, or if you've read any of these books already, let me know which ones you think I should prioritize. The first book on my summer TBR, it's literally at the very top because I'm planning to pick it up in just a couple weeks. It's probably going to be the first book off this list that I read, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is her latest release that just came out last month, and I've been saving it because I have a trip coming up in a couple weeks and I'm going to read it on that trip. Each one of her books I've read on a different vacation that I've gone on, and I've read it like on the plane and while I'm on my trip. So I associate each one of her books with a certain vacation, and I feel like it's made each of her books even more special for me. I think all of her books give off great summer vibes, and you can obviously tell by the super cute cover that this one is going to be very summery as well. I know this one takes place at a beach house that this group of friends own together, and we're following them over this particular summer where it's going to be the last summer that they all have the beach house together. And in particular, we follow a couple named Harriet and Wynn, and they were engaged but they've since broken up. And since it's going to be the last summer at the beach house, they don't want to like bring the vibe down and tell all their friends that they're not together anymore. So it's kind of like a fake dating situation where they're pretending like they're still together. And I've heard nothing but rave reviews for this book so far. I've heard that it's a lot more emotional and deep than her other books as well. So I just cannot wait to read this. I really hope it's a favorite. For me, People We Meet on Vacation is my favorite book of hers, and nothing has topped that since. So each time she comes out with a new release, I'm hoping that I'll find a new favorite, and maybe this will be the one. Next book I want to read this summer is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegman-Broca. They are a co-writing couple. I think they're husband and wife, and the book is about a author duo who are also in a relationship. I feel like I've talked about this book a lot on my channel because I had it on my radar since last summer when people were hyping it up, and so it's one of my most anticipated reads for this year. I just got it for my birthday knowing that I wanted to read it this summer. I feel like this is going to be the perfect pool or beach read because this author duo ends up going to this beach house, I believe, in Florida to write a book together. They were this author duo that was really successful. They had this publishing deal together and they wrote all these best-selling books, but then they split, and so they have one more book that they're under contract that they have to write together, and so it becomes this forced proximity situation. And yeah, it just gives me very summery vibes. I've heard lots of good things. I've heard it compared to Emily Henry, so I'm really hoping to love it. I can't wait to read this one this summer. The next romance book I have on my summer TBR is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I believe this is the only YA romance on my TBR. But this one follows a girl named Meredith, and her family goes to Martha's Vineyard every summer for vacation, and her sister just passed away, so they're going to Martha's Vineyard for the summer for the first time without her sister there. I believe when they're there, they play this game of assassin with water guns, and it just sounds very summery. It also, I think, is going to touch on grief because the main character just lost her sister, so I feel like it'll be a good mix of having emotional depth and also being light and fun and summery. And in all honesty, I picked up this book last summer and started it and read a few chapters, and then I just never picked it up again because I had other things that piqued my interest a little more. But I definitely want to finish this one out this summer because I've heard it recommended when people talk about summer books you should read. So I'll definitely give this one another try this summer. The next book I have on my summer TBR is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This one's following a girl named Bea, and I believe someone close to her passes away. So she goes to live with her father or her stepfather in Texas, and she doesn't really know him that well. They don't have much of a relationship, but she ends up having a romance with their next door neighbor named Samson, and Samson and Bea just come from very different worlds. I think Bea grew up in poverty and Samson has always had everything come easy to him. He grew up with wealth, so I feel like it's gonna be like an opposites attract kind of thing. And I've just heard people say that the summer vibes of this are great. I've heard people say that it's like the song Cruel Summer in a book, and that just sounds like the best vibes. So I can't wait to read this one. I haven't picked up a Coho book in quite a while. I feel like she's kind of a controversial author lately, but for me, I think all of her books are so easy to digest. I get through them so quickly, and I think they're just easy to read and enjoyable. The next book I have on my summer TBR is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Obviously, 7 Days in June, I want to read it in June because that's when the story takes place over the course of this 1 week in June. I think we get two timelines. One is in the past when this couple meets. They're both writers, and I think they meet at like a literary convention, and then something happens, they lose touch. But through their books that they've written over the course of many years, they're kind of like writing to one another, and then they reconnect later on, I believe in New York, when they both are like more mature. I think one of them has children, and I think it's a second chance kind of romance. But I've heard so many really great things about this story, about this romance. The next book I want to read is The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. This I think is on Kindle Unlimited, so I'll be reading it on my Kindle. But this book sounds like all my favorite tropes in one, and it takes place over the summer. It follows this couple that I think had neighboring beach houses, and they became friends, and then their friendship bloomed into more of a romantic relationship. Something happened that tore them apart, so it's the then and now timeline, trying to figure out what happened that made them stop talking, and then they reconnect later on when they're older. And those are just all my favorite things in one book, and the fact that it takes place like in a beach house setting is just perfect for summertime, and I've heard lots of great things about this one, so cannot wait to read it. The next book I want to read this summer is Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is a sports romance. I can't remember if it's football or basketball, but I've heard that the setting is in like a beach town, and I've heard so many good things about this book, specifically our male main character, Noah Riley. Recently I learned that there's a series Megan Brandy wrote that you should read before going into Say You Swear. So let me know if you've read Say You Swear as like a standalone, or if you've read the books that come before it. I think you should read those first. But again, I've heard so many good things about Say You Swear. I think there's like a plot twist in it, and I think it is a little bit more emotional and heavy, but it's one that I've heard so much hype for. Then I want to read Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. This is a start to a series. I think it's called like the Avalon Bay series, and I think 2 books are out right now. But Elle Kennedy is an author I fell in love with this year and discovered from reading her off-campus series, which are hockey romances. So this sounds like it's completely different from that. I think it's following this rich girl who moves to a small town to try and like get away and figure out her life. It's this like beachy town, and she ends up falling for the bad boy. And to be honest, I haven't really heard that great of things about it, but I've heard it compared to Outer Banks, which is the ultimate summer vibes. So I want to give it a try. With how much I loved her off-campus series, I definitely want to try something new from her and see what her writing is like outside of the hockey romance. So I think it'll be interesting to pick up this summer. Okay, then the last books that I want to read that I have in the romance category, which I'm not entirely sure if it's romance, I'm pretty sure it is, but this is the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart. I know the first book in this series is called Flock. I am going into this completely blind. I literally know nothing about it. I'm sorry, I know that's so annoying to watch TBR video and not get synopsises, but I've heard that you should go into this blind, and I've heard that when you're reading it, you don't know what's happening, and you're not supposed to know what's happening until the end. So that intrigues me, but I've heard it recommended for summer. I think Caitlin B said it would be a really great series to read for summer. I think the setting is like lake setting, so I'm very intrigued. I've also heard that one of the books has like a crazy plot twist that just makes you bawl your eyes out. So I don't know, I'm scared but intrigued. Okay, moving into thrillers now. I feel like thrillers are good to break up all the romances that I want to read. The first thriller I want to pick up is Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I've heard this one compared to White Lotus, which is one of my favorite shows ever. I think this follows a wide cast of characters at this hotel in Nantucket, and there's a murder, so it becomes like a murder mystery situation, and there's like different guests who are suspects. and I'm just intrigued. I know people recommend Ellen Hildebrand a lot for her summer books. I think she pretty much only writes books that take place in the summer, take place on the coast in Nantucket and different islands and stuff. So if I like this one, I definitely want to try out more from her. The next thriller I want to try is actually a short story, and it is called Uncharted Waters by Sally Hepworth. I think it's only like 50 pages or so, but I'm really intrigued because this is part of a big collection of short stories, but you can obviously read the short stories individually, which is what I'm gonna do because Sally Hepworth is one of my favorite thriller authors. But all of the short stories in the book are thrillers that take place in like this vacation setting, so perfect for summer. I feel like I'm gonna read that in like an hour one day at the pool, and I'm really excited to pick up a short story from one of my favorite authors. Speaking of Sally Hepworth, I have one thriller left from her that's a full-length novel that I have not read yet that kind of gives me summer vibes as well, and I want to listen to the audiobook of it because the person who narrates all of her audiobooks does an incredible job. She does an amazing Australian accent that makes you feel like you are in the story. So The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth, all I know about it is that the different POVs we get are from the husband, the former wife, the new younger wife, and then I think the daughters. There might be more than one or just one, but that just sounds very intriguing. It sounds like it's going to be an interesting dynamic. And like I said, Sally Hepworth is one of my favorite thriller authors ever, and this just feels like it's going to be a very easy, summery, fun listen. In a similar vein, I want to try out another Australian thriller author. I want to read 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. This is on my 23 books I want to read in 2023 along with The Younger Wife. I just really want to try out Liane Moriarty because I know a lot of her books have been adapted and she's just really popular and people love her books. And this one definitely gives me summer vibes. This is another one that kind of gives me White Lotus vibes as well. In this book, we follow 9 strangers who all go to this like health type resort together, but the resort isn't exactly what it seems. I think there's more than meets the eye with this resort and something kind of darker going on. So I'm excited to check that one out, and I definitely want to try out more from Liane Moriarty. But this book in particular just kind of felt summery with the whole resort setting. The next thriller I have, I think it's a YA thriller, and this is Cousins by Karen M. McManus. This one is following these cousins who all get a letter, I think, from their grandmother to come and work at this resort that she owns for the summer. And it's interesting because the grandmother like cut all of her children off. And so she's going to like the next generation, the grandchildren. So all the cousins go, all their parents are like, you have to go and like find out all these secrets. And I think we find out why the grandmother cut off all of the parents, and they're like, this could be your chance to get the inheritance from the grandmother. And it takes place again at like this island resort, so the setting seems perfect for summer. I've heard a few people say that they enjoyed this book. I think Rachel Catherine read it last summer and enjoyed it, so I definitely want to give it a try. I read One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and I did enjoy it, so I'm intrigued to try out more from her. I feel like she's really good at writing from different characters' POVs and making them all very distinct from one another, and I really enjoyed her writing style. And the last thriller that I want to read this summer is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I am a fan of Riley Sager. I feel like I've liked all of his books, some more than others, but this one especially gives me summer vibes. It's following this woman who I think was an actress, and she moves to this lake house, and she ends up kind of spying on the couple who lives in the house across the lake, and she kind of becomes invested in their relationship, and then I think some darker things are going on with the couple that she's kind of trying to investigate. So it kind of reminds me of The Girl on the Train, which I really loved that book. And I feel like Riley Sager is so good at writing a really atmospheric setting and setting the mood, and this one feels very summery. So he's definitely an author that I really enjoy his writing, and I want to read his entire backlist, and I think this is a good one to pick up for the summer. And those are all the books that I have on my summer TBR so far. Let me know if you've read any of these and which ones you think I should pick up first. And let me know what's on y'all's TBR for this summer. I love chatting about books with you guys in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button down below to stick around. I would love to have you guys here on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you so soon in my next video. Bye guys.